Krishna Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtotara Shatashi Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtotara Shatashi Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai Nantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories of the assembled devotees. All glories of the assembled devotees. All glories of the assembled devotees. All glories of Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This morning we were reading from Srimadbhagavatam, Canto 4, titled Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 21, Instructions to Maharaj Prithu, Text 25. Tat praja brahit pindartam swartam evanusuyavaha kurutadokshadadiyas Tarhime nugraha krita Tat prajaparit prindartam Swartam evanusuyavaha Kuru tat dukshajadiyas Tarhime nugraha kritaha Tat prajapatripindartam Swartam evanusuyavaha Kuru tat dukshajadiyas Tarhime nugraha krita Seems to be a lot of feedback. Does anyone know how to? Because that is not necessary, unless it's unavoidable. But it yeah, I think it's wow, amazing. It's unnecessary suffering, right? It's better. Like Prabhupada one time went on a morning walk, and apparently Guru Das Prabhu, he ran up to join the devotees and Prabhupada on his morning walk, and Guru Das didn't have any shoes on. And then Prabhupada said, "Oh, why don't you have any shoes?" And, "Oh, I just want to catch up with you, Prabhupada." Prabhupada said, "Oh, go put on some shoes." So there's already enough suffering in the world as it is. You don't need to increase it. So, yeah, if we could avoid them. Okay, so word by word. Tat, therefore. Prajaha, my dear citizens. Part 3 of the Master. Pindartam, welfare after death. Sa'artam, own interest. Eva, certainly. Manusavaha, without being envious. Kuruta, Let us execute. Adhoksaja, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Diyaha, thinking of Him. Tarhi, therefore. Me, unto me. Anugraha, mercy. Kritaha, being done. Translation. Prithu Maharaj continued, therefore, my dear citizens, for the welfare of your king after his death, you should execute your duties properly in terms of your positions of Varna and Ashram, and should always think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within your hearts. By doing so, you will protect your own interest, and you will bestow mercy upon your king for his welfare after death. Purport. The words Doksaja Diyaha, meaning Krishna consciousness, are very important in this verse. The king and citizen should both be Krishna conscious, otherwise both of them will be doomed to lower species of life after death. A responsible government must teach Krishna consciousness very vigorously for the benefit of all people. For the benefit of all. Without Krishna consciousness, neither the state nor the citizens of the state can be responsible. Prithu Maharaj therefore specifically requested the citizens to act in Krishna consciousness, and he was also very anxious to teach them how to become Krishna conscious. A summary of Krishna consciousness is given in Bhagavad Gita 9:27. Yet karoshi, yet anashnasi, yet jahosi, dadasi, yet tapasyasi konteya, tat kurushva mat arpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you give in charity, and whatever penances you undergo should be done in Krishna consciousness, or for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If all the people of the state, including the government servants, are taught the techniques of spiritual life, and although everyone is liable to be punished in different ways by the stringent laws of material nature, they will not be implicated. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshulanmalatamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Kam Karitavachalam Pangam Langai Tegadim Yap Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Diditaranam Vancha Kablita Vishta Kripasundabhevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasya Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation again. Prithu Maharaj continued. Therefore, my dear citizens, for the welfare of your king after his death, you should execute your duties properly in terms of your positions of Varna and Ashram, and should always think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within your hearts. By doing so, you will protect your own interests, and you will bestow mercy upon your king for his welfare after death. So the goal is to be spontaneously attracted to Krishna. Or you could say to be spontaneously Krishna conscious. And one may not be on that level. They may not be able to do that, be spontaneously attracted to Krishna or spontaneously Krishna conscious. So, in the Bhagavad Gita, there's different suggestions Krishna gives for different types of people. Does anyone remember those? You remember? Bhagavad Gita, instructions in the Bhagavad Gita. If you can't do this, do this. If you can't do this. You remember some of them? Anyone want to say? What's the highest? Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, so if you can't, spontaneously think of me, Krishna is saying, then follow the regulative principles, and this way you can develop a desire to, right? Develop a desire to attain me. And if you can't do that, then at least give your fruits to me. And if you can't do that, then give them away to some good charity, something like that. So people are on different levels, and not everyone's able just to follow. Not everyone's able to follow the highest principle. It means to be spontaneously attracted. Krishna says to follow the regulative principles, but sometimes people can't do that. And then therefore, okay, then give your fruits. And sometimes people can't do that. Okay, then give it to somebody or something. And sometimes people don't do that. They say, okay, fine, then be a demon, be an asura. So, what? So yeah. But we should try. We should try to follow the principles of Krishna consciousness strictly, and practically that means following sadhana bhakti. So sadhana bhakti means engaging in regulated devotional service under the direction of the spiritual master. And while one is doing that, they may not have a lot of taste for doing it at times, but they do it because they know it's good for them. But it's very important that everybody engages in sadhana bhakti seriously, or else, okay, fine. You could fall into the category of just give your fruits to Krishna, okay, or you could fall into the category of give your hard-earned money to Red Cross or to some other, welfare society. Okay, fine. But it's good if devotees, whoever's listening online, whoever's listening here, whoever will listen to this in the future, I don't know if anybody will, but it's good if we take seriously, sadhana bhakti. Why? Because that's the real means to attain higher stages of bhakti. Bhava bhakti, prema bhakti, these are all, bhava bhakti is a preliminary stage of love for Krishna. Practically it's love for Krishna, and then prema, right? There's different levels of prema. So this is the process, first sadhana bhakti. So one has to engage in sadhana bhakti in order to attain bhava bhakti, in order to attain prema bhakti, in order to attain pure Krishna consciousness or pure love for Krishna. So, part of sadhana bhakti, a very important part that Srila Prabhupada set up, is the morning program. And whether one's a brahmachari or a householder or a vanaprastha or a sannyasi or a vantasi or whatever one may be, you know what vantasi is? Vantasi means you take sannyas and you fall down. And specifically, there's a dog, and the dog vomits, and then the dog goes and looks. If he, sometimes dogs do that. They're weird animals, right? Everybody's in love with them in America for some reason, but the dogs they vomit and they go check and see if they missed anything. In other words, they'll eat it again after they vomited it. So, vantasi means you gave up your material attachments. Specifically, it's referring to sannyasis. You give your material attachments. You take sannyas and you go back and you give up your sannyas. So, whatever you are, vantasi, sannyasi, brahmachari, vanaprastha, you live in your van, whoever you are, it's important that somehow or other there's some morning program, because that's constitutes sadhana bhakti. Now, if somebody can't do that, okay, fine, then don't do it. then do other things. Give your fruits. Like some people, they come to the temple. They don't have sadhana bhakti. They don't engage in sadhana bhakti. They give some money to Krishna. They give some money to the temple. And that's good. And hopefully, or they literally give fruits. Yeah. They literally give fruits, bananas and grapes and apples. Yeah. So that's good, and hopefully over time, through purification, that they'll rise to sadhana bhakti, and they could still give their fruits and flowers and other things. So yeah. But if one can, and one should try to engage in sadhana bhakti. And again, morning program constitutes many important aspects of sadhana bhakti. And if somebody thinks that the morning programs for neophytes, the morning programs not very important, etc., 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 it means that they're in absolute maya, they're absolute illusion. And they don't know what they're talking about. And they're offensive. Why? Because Rupa Goswami are, one of the most important acharyas in our line. Actually, we're known as, Rupanugas, followers of Rupa Goswami. And he's not some, struggling neophyte bhakta or something. He's Rupa Goswami. He's coming from the spiritual world, directly from the spiritual world. Very important personality. And he gives us hints of how we could develop our love for Krishna. And in Srila Prabhupada, understanding Rupa Goswami, he molded ISKCON in such a way as to have these particular principles or these particular activities of Krishna consciousness, these most important activities, interwoven into the morning program. They're the main aspects of the morning program. Hearing the srimadbhagavatam. Sometimes people think, I've heard so many Bhagavatam classes. Okay, yeah, that's true, but Rupa Goswami says you should hear every day. The Bhagavatam says you should hear every day. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. It's not meant for the neophytes. It's actually meant for liberated souls. It's important. Or chanting the holy names, or associating with devotees, or deity worship, or in a holy place. So, if one wants to develop love for Krishna, they should follow the morning program. And that means from beginning to end. And if one doesn't have taste for that, okay, fine. And get taste. You got to get taste for it, or else how will we ever get higher taste for the higher levels of devotional service? It won't happen so quickly. So the morning program, you could say, is a quick way for us to rise to higher levels of devotional service, provided we follow it. And again, following means from beginning to end, and it means avoiding the tigress of sleep, which is devouring practically the whole population of this world. People are very attached to sleep. Sleeping and sleeping and sleeping and sleeping. So, in other words, once one rises in the morning, and one should rise early in the morning, one should engage in the full morning program, whatever that program may be. Householders may have different programs. But if whether one's a brahmachari household, once rising early in the morning, one should attend the full morning program and not go back to sleep. And therefore, brahmacharis traditionally, hey, Hare Krishna, welcome. Straight down from Canada, huh? Or not Canada. Is it Canada? Yeah. Therefore, traditionally brahmacharis, they, they have their mat, and they take their mat, they roll it up, they wipe down the floor, and then they put their mat away, right? And the idea is that because they put their mat away, it's not like a temptation. It's not a temptation. Oh, my mat's there, I could just lay down, or something. My bed's there, I could just lay down. Now, of course, Prabhupada had a bed, and devotees may have beds, but if you don't have a bed, and roll it up and put it away, and then you're not tempted. And Prabhupada, one time he was Tamal Krishna Goswami. I heard in a lecture of his one time that Prabhupada was in L.A. and he was on his bed. He's about to go to sleep. And Prabhupada stood up on his bed. And he said he had the covers around him. And then Prabhupada said, he looked at Tamal Krishna Goswami, yeah, I don't like to sleep very much. He said, it's a waste of time. And he was just looking at Tamal Krishna Goswami, and then Prabhupada just laid down in his bed. He's gone to sleep. But, and Maharaj was saying, yeah, I don't know why Prabhupada did that. But he got up in his bed, and his blanket on him. So, it's, you could say, one thing that brahmacharis or house or whoever, they have to conquer. Means they have to rise early, learn to rise early. They have to conquer that. And then after one has risen, to stay awake. Stay awake means not to crawl back into the sleeping bag or go to sleep. And if one could do that, that's actually a big step. That's actually a big step. Because after all, like, these things are actually keeping us in this material world, although they seem very small. Like eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Like, these things seem very small. Like, oh, well, so what? It's just eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Well, who's detached from them? Very few people, if anybody. So it's not that we can't do those things. I mean, there's, whatever, Krishna conscious eating, Krishna conscious sleeping. I mean, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, for the purpose of procreation, for family life. Okay, fine. Somebody engages in sex life, have children or something. But the difference between a devotee and a materialistic person is that the devotee is not conquered by them. The devotee controls them. Therefore, the devotee is Goswami. Right? Devotee is a Goswami. Controls. So, in other words, in order to be Krishna conscious, really, we have to become Goswamis. And that doesn't mean necessarily we have to get a, danda or something like that, but we may not. But internally, we have to be Goswami. We have to be controller of our senses, or else, we will not. It'll be very difficult for us to make tangible progress without controlling our mind and the senses. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada says in the Nectar of Instruction, the first duty of a spiritual practitioner is to control their mind and senses. So here it says, Adhokshaja Diya, meaning Krishna consciousness, are very important in this verse. And the king and the citizens who do not follow the principles of Krishna consciousness, they may be doomed to lower species after death. And here, so Prabhupada's, because we're dealing with Prithu Maharaj and government and all these different things, Srila Prabhupada's given a lot of instructions, a lot of directions for leaders, government leaders, and so on, and citizens. And he's saying that a responsible government must teach Krishna consciousness very vigorously for the benefit of all. Now, how does that relate to us? We are not government leaders. None of us in this room are government leaders. None of us will probably be government leaders ever. Maybe next life. But you could say a responsible temple, right? Where there's a temple here. We're in a temple. Responsible temple must teach Krishna consciousness very vigorously for the benefit of all. So we are part of the temple, and the temple is meant mainly, the whole purpose of the temple really is for preaching Krishna consciousness, or else we have no business in the city whatsoever. It is a very, we don't have any business here really besides preaching. So devotees, individually, collectively, devotees should rack their brain. Okay, how can I personally be responsible for vigorously teaching or spreading Krishna consciousness? How can I personally be responsible? What responsibilities can I take personally? And that's an important stage to come to, that we individually, collectively, we take responsibility. Some responsibility. It could be cleaning the bathroom. Spotlessly cleaning the bath. That's great. Somebody could do that. That's wonderful. Because nobody likes a dirty bathroom, right? Especially guests. Especially if they're cultured guests. Especially if they're just not even cultured, just anybody, respects or appreciates. Or whatever it is, cooking or cleaning or book distribution or harinam or just being a good devotee, right? Being an enthusiastic, happy devotee. Talking with people, something. Just taking some responsibility, taking some, whatever. There's temple president, role, there's vice president role, there's temple commander, there's Sankirtan leader, there's this, that, so many different. So if somehow or other we could take some responsibility to vigorously teach Krishna consciousness for the benefit of all, then that will be very conducive to the benefit of all and to the benefit of ourselves. And Krishna will be happy. So everything will really work out. And failing to be responsible means we're just a failure. It means that we have failed ourselves, we have failed our spiritual master, we have failed Krishna, we have failed Prabhupada, we have failed the temple, we've failed the conditioned souls. And we have just failed to rise beyond the lower modes of material nature. And we have slipped back into ignorance, which is just a dark, deep hole of suffering. Does that sound happy enough? So we don't want to be there. It is depressing. It is unenlivening. It is just terrible. Lower modes means terrible, and it means we've just failed. We're just really a failure. So therefore, we don't want to be a failure, so we have to rise beyond the lower modes. And of course, it's not always easy, and sometimes we slip and fall and whatever. But we have to make progress. Rise into the lower modes. Rise into the higher modes of material nature, and take responsibility. So Krishna consciousness is a life, or actually the human form of life is a life of responsibility. In Krishna consciousness, Krishna conscious life is a life of responsibility. And the more responsible one can become, the more in Krishna consciousness, the more one can, you could say, receive the blessings of Krishna and the devotees. And the less responsible one just becomes a nuisance to society. Oh, look at this guy, he doesn't attend the morning program, unenthusiastic, doesn't do his service on time, doesn't do his service at all, dragging his feet, not engaging in preaching activities, and it's just like, oh man, this is like a drag or something. I mean, in household life too, the guy doesn't want to go to work, just wants to lay around all day, short-tempered, doesn't take care of the children. I mean, any aspect of real life, Krishna conscious life, even material life, if somebody's irresponsible, they're just a nuisance. Just like all these homeless people in San Francisco, defecating and urinating all over the streets, drugged out and homeless and completely dirty and smelly, and it's just a nuisance in society. There's thousands of them, LA too, thousands of them. So it's their childhood or whatever. I don't want to whatever, I don't got anything against homeless people. But I'm just saying it's a nuisance in society. So one may not fall so low, but there's higher and higher stages of advancement, of responsibility, and so on that one must rise to the occasion. So the leaders should be responsible, citizens should be responsible, and we should try to take some responsibility, whatever it may be, even if it's small. It doesn't matter, just something to help the situation. And and we should be anxious for that. Therefore, specific request the citizen to act in Krishna consciousness. And he is also very anxious to teach them how to become Krishna conscious. We have to be anxious that people need Krishna consciousness. I need Krishna consciousness. So we should be anxious to give Krishna consciousness to ourselves. Means engage in sadhana bhakti. And we should be anxious to try to spread Krishna consciousness. That means whatever single opportunity we may get, we take to somehow other engage in Krishna consciousness, or spread Krishna consciousness. It's not that like an opportunity arises and you I don't think I'm going to do that. Why? I don't feel like it. I just feel like whatever, eating and sleeping or something. I just feel like taking it easy. But we take the opportunities when they come, and we make opportunities, not just taking. You actually make. You take opportunities and you make opportunities, both. And we should be anxious for that. And if one is not anxious for that, then they're going to be anxious for other things. Whatever it may be. I'm anxious for money. I'm anxious for my position. I'm anxious for my comfort. I'm anxious for this, for that, for 5 billion things. I'm anxious to whatever. So we have to develop this. You could say, let's say, anxiousness. That's a word. Anxiousness isn't a word. Anxiousness. We have to develop this anxiousness, this anxiety that my spiritual master has given me an order, and whether it's direct or general or specific, and the order is spread Krishna consciousness. The order is be Krishna conscious, spread Krishna conscious, take responsibility. That's the order. So we should feel anxiety, and means it's not anxiety that produces suffering, it's actually anxiety that produces bliss. It's a different type of anxiety. It's not like, oh, anxiety, and now I'm suffering, and now I need to go down to CVS and pick up some pharmaceutical drugs for my anxiety or something. That's not that type of anxiety. The anxiety is anxiety. It's a bliss-producing anxiety. Why? Because naturally, when one engages in the activities of spreading Krishna consciousness, one feels the bliss. So it's not that you're feeling anxiety to perform a particular activity, and once you engage in the activity, you suffer. No. You're feeling anxiety to engage in a particular activity, and once you engage in the activity, you feel bliss. You feel relief, you feel bliss, you feel happiness, you feel Krishna's presence. So, and to be Krishna conscious, Prabhupada quotes the Bhagavad Gita, whatever we do, of course it has to be, certain things. I'm going to the casino for Krishna. Although, one time, Surapal and Krishnamai, who are not in Las Vegas anymore, they're somewhere else, I'm not sure where they are, but they were there for many years. They're in Philadelphia. So they were having some financial crisis. The temple's going to shut down or something like that. So they're walking on the main street there in Las Vegas, Sinful Avenue, whatever. That place is so rajasic and tamasic. Ugh. Anyways, I never actually walked on that main street. I never went there before I joined the temple, and after I joined the temple, I visited the temple, but I actually never walked on the main street. But maybe we'll do Harinam there sometime. They need the Harinam. But so they're walking, and somebody called them in. Come to this casino, and they practically grabbed them and dragged them in the casino, and practically forced them to pull one of those what do you call? Yeah, slot machine, one of the. So they pulled the lever down, and 3 cherries or whatever it was. 3, usually it's cherries. And they won a bunch of money. I forgot how much it was, but it paid all the bills. It kept the temple open. So that was a rare circumstance. But generally, I'll go to the casino for Krishna. So there's certain things we can't do for Krishna, but it means within the guidelines of Krishna consciousness. Whatever you eat, there's certain things we don't eat, obviously. So, but whatever you eat, whatever you do, whatever you give away and give in charity. So, it says that there's charity in the modes, right? Generally, sometimes people give it to these homeless people on the street and things like that. Like this guy had a sign, and it said, "I'm hungry." Right here, Grand Avenue, on the corner. Now, the guy may be hungry. Okay, fine. But, at least within my mind, my analytical, mind, I have doubts. Is this guy really hungry? Is he really hungry? And I'm thinking that, well, how can this guy really be hungry? There's like 5 churches here in Pacific Beach who serve out food regularly, and this state of California, like thousands of people are on welfare, which means EBT card. They get $250 like a month. That's a lot. I think that's enough, for you to be full for the whole month. Maybe, I don't know. So nobody goes hungry in SanDiego. There's not like anybody starving in SanDiego or something. So I was thinking maybe he's hungry for something else. I don't know, some drugs or some alcohol or whatever. So so it says whatever you give in charity. So there's different forms of charity. The best charity is to the right person at the right time in a holy place, and specifically Prabhupada is referring to the propagation of Krishna consciousness, which really solves all problems. Whatever penances you undergo should be done in Krishna consciousness for the satisfaction of Krishna. So, practically whatever we do, we should remember Krishna and try to do it for him. And in this way, we will be Krishna conscious, and also teach these principles to others is important. Teaching these principles to others. And then we'll be saved from so many unnecessary suffering. We won't be implicated. But on the other side, we will experience the true, you could say, nectar, the true bliss that the souls are supposed to experience. So does anyone have any questions or comments? How did I get so humble? It's not true, I'm not humble, so I can't. I have a tendency I have certain ideas, other people have certain ideas, I disagree, I voice my disagreement, I'm attached to my ideas, that way I'm not humble. In other ways too. Do you have a question? Or a comment? Yeah, question or a comment? Hey, Hare Krishna, see you later.
What's wrong with the microphones? Did you turn Raj Mohan?
Here's a comment.
I think I have 2 guys coming today this morning for breakfast with us.
Oh, yeah?
I hope they stick around. One of them has cancer. He's really going through some stuff. He's a young man, very young,
Oh, yeah.
like 20s, and he's going through some stuff. And
So cancer means that he's going to leave his body?
well, he's got some bad amount on one side. You know. I've been talking to him at the 7-Eleven where I hire now all the time, and he works there. And he's really he's been coming around and realizing. And it's so funny. I told him to meet me. They really should meet me. And he said, "Oh yeah, I'm trying." And he went to go do something else. And the time exactly when he was supposed to meet me is when they stole his car.
Sure.
Some people seem to have the worst of luck, huh? They lose their car, they lose their wife, lose their job, those kind of things. Hopefully, if somebody's pious, it says they turn to God. If somebody's impious, then they turn to, the material world.
I just have a question. So you were talking about this aspect of responsibility in Krishna consciousness, and it reminded me of this excerpt that I had found. It's actually in Sridhar Maharaj's book, one of his books. Prabhupada's God, really not his disciple. But there's this one part that says, "Deep engagement is necessary, especially for the mind, not merely the body, and mental engagement can be attained only by responsibility. Some responsible service is given to the disciple. He feels weight and it occupies his brain. He cannot but think about it. The mind is engaged there, surely, so the mind gets no chance to dwell on lower things." But I was just wondering, maybe, do you have anything to say, an expansion, because somebody may not have, because when I think, he feels weight and occupies his brain, that sounds like big responsible services. But what if somebody doesn't have big responsible services like that, or substantial?
Well, nothing's small in Krishna consciousness. So, you don't necessarily so many of Lord Chaitanya's associates. Some of these Vaishnav biographies we read, they were there in Vrindavan and they were there in Mayapur, and what did they do? I completely appreciate what they did. The biography is that, they had deities and they, worshipped their deities with great love and devotion, and, cooked for them, and, offered arati and chanted a bunch of rounds and went back to Godhead, and that was their biography, and it's completely glorified. So it's not that it's you have to take on some huge roles and positions and this and that, and sometimes it's even better to avoid those things, to be quite honest. Somebody needs to do them, obviously, but not everybody has to do them, and not everybody should do them, and it's not necessary. So, but the thing is to engage in whatever service one does with great enthusiasm and concentration and devotion, and do it for Krishna. Like that woman, that devotee. She lived there in Vrindavan. She had a simple life and Krishna conscious life. And she would go to the Yamuna every day and pick up water, and she'd bring it to Radha Damodar temple, and she'd give it to the deities, and she did that for many, many years, and that was absolutely glorified. So, but if you want to feel the weight of some order, a spiritual master, and then you should get a spiritual master. So you need a spiritual master. That's why you're not feeling the weight. Because right now, there's Prabhupada, who's your Shiksha spiritual master. But the tradition is, and it's always been and always will be, that one has a Diksha spiritual master, And it is, you cannot take diksha from somebody who's left this world. You have to take diksha from somebody who's in this world. So, yeah, that's there. So you need a spiritual master, and you'll feel the weight then. Because right now you're feeling some weight from the devotees, or you're feeling some weight from Prabhupada, but if you have a spiritual master that, say, amplifies it, and you feel more responsible. Somebody's there to, yeah. Sure, do we have a question, comment?
Yeah, if you're right, it is diksha. There are so many different kind of services. Some require a lot of mental application, intelligence, they're demanding, and some are just, they're demanding, but not in that way, washing or something, But if you have a service, there's so many services on a farm, it's just like physical service, you're riding behind a plow, okay. But that gives you time and, ability to chant Hare Krishna, recite the verse you memorized that morning. In other words, there's always an application of your mind. The mind, as Krishna says, remember me and fight. We were just studying that verse yesterday. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmara yudyata mayarpadamano buddhum amavashya sanksya. So Arjuna, while he's fighting, there's a certain amount of mental engagement, but it's a lot of just physical, But then he's supposed to be remembering Krishna, and his mind and intelligence engaged at that time. So there's always a dimension of Krishna consciousness that involves application of the mind, as we call it, mindfulness. And so that lady, she was getting the water. She wasn't getting the water. She was getting the water for Krishna. She's getting Yamuna water, and she's chanting Hare Krishna. What's he doing? She's thinking of the deities. And that's why it's called.
There was some lady, Vrajvasi lady, we don't know the name, but Prabhupada glorified her. Yeah, Prabhupada was there, and he was and he was at Radha Damodar temple, and he's giving his lectures and kirtans, and a bunch of devotees were there, and then this lady would come in, and apparently she was making some noise or something, and then some devotee said, and then Prabhupada told that devotee, stop, don't correct her, she's a very special devotee. She's been getting Yamuna water since she was a young girl. Now she's like elderly. She'll go back to Godhead just for doing this. So yeah. Oh, that's what the mic was on, huh? Amplifying the airplane takeoff. So, yeah, it was amazing, she's getting for Radha Damodar, the deities, Radha Damodar. So yeah, it really doesn't matter. There's been so many devotees who were like extremely advanced, and they weren't, in some like whatever. A lot of devotees actually. There's the gurus and sannyasis and GBCs and all these eaters, but there's many devotees in the past and the present and the future who didn't take on these big roles or anything, but they're super advanced and remembered. A lot of the times it takes them to go back to Godhead or leave their body before everybody understands and appreciates and realizes. But yeah. Okay. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.